Candace Cameron Bure is probably Hollywood's most hated Christian celebrity right now for defending biblical truth about traditional marriage.
And Full House actress Candace Cameron Bure is under fire this morning for recent comments she made about same-sex marriages on television. GLAAD has already condemned these statements from the actress, so talk to us a bit about the consequences of comments and actions like this and what the LGBTQ community is making of all of it, especially from someone who's so well known.
Even if you compromise and get an opportunity to eventually preach the gospel, some are going to mock you, some will hear you further, and some will believe. You know what happens when you don't compromise and God opens an opportunity for you to preach the gospel? Some will mock you, some will listen to you further, and some will believe. So why bother compromising in the first place? Amen. Compromising is not going to save anyone.
Candace's daughter, however, she's standing by her.
Have you even seen all my Christmas movies? I've seen a majority of them.
Natasha Bure wrote her favorite thing about her mom is, quote, how much she loves Jesus and how firm in her faith she stands.
She's definitely worked her hardest and just kind of stood her ground and, given the glory to God and stayed by her family.
I found this Bible to be so special.
Why GLAAD and LGBTQ community are demonizing Candace is concerning because, over the years, she has always been open about her view on traditional marriage and her opposition to a same-sex relationship. Essentially, they want her to shut up and go home.
The Oregon law bars businesses from discriminating against sexual orientation, race, disability, age, or religion. And to me, it's the same exact thing that they did back in the day, saying that black people couldn't do certain things because it's my religious belief.
I think you are comparing apples to oranges here. I don't think this is discrimination at all. This is about freedom of association. It's about constitutional rights. It's about First Amendment rights. We do have the right to still choose who we associate with, but they did not refuse
I refuse to associate myself with you right now.
They did
is
not.
That okay?
It's in the Constitution. They didn't refuse to bake the cake because of their sexual orientation. In fact, they had baked cakes for them
all throughout the whole time.
They baked cake for them previously. They had a problem with the actual ceremony because the ceremony is what conflicted with their religious beliefs. They have the right to refuse.
But apparently they don't, according to
freedom of association.
What does it say?
But it wasn't against sexual orientation, and I think that's where you're going with it.
Please join us in our fight for the truth. Please share our videos, subscribe, like, and comment. We appreciate your help. Recently, Candace left Hallmark to join Great American Family as the Chief Creative Officer. In her recent interview with the Wall Street Journal, Candace stated, "My heart wants to tell stories that have more meaning and purpose and depth behind them," Bure explained. "I knew that the people behind Great American Family were Christians that loved the Lord and wanted to promote faith programming and good family entertainment." However, that statement did not lead to the liberal media and LGBTQ community meltdown. Instead, when asked whether her new network would feature same-sex couples in their movies, Candace said no. "I think that Great American Family will keep traditional marriage at the core." The attack on Candace was swift and distasteful. She was called a bigot, homophobic, dangerous, and a hypocrite, to name a few.
Calling out Candace. Hillary Burton didn't hold anything back when it came to her thoughts on Candace Cameron Bure. Hillary shared a link to the article and wrote via Twitter, "I don't remember Jesus liking hypocrites like Candy, but sure, make your money, honey. You ride that prejudice wave all the way to the bank." The actress also slammed GAC's CEO Bill Abbott, who also commented on not having same-sex couples as leads. While Hillary wrote on Twitter, "Now they're just openly admitting their bigotry. I called this shit out years ago when Abbott was at Hallmark. Glad they dumped him. Being LGBTQ isn't a trend. That guy and his network are disgusting. You too, Candy. There is nothing untraditional about same-sex couples."
Hollywood is already taking sides. One Tree Hill and Hallmark star Hillary Burton called Candace a bigot. JoJo Siwa, who famously called Candace the rudest celebrity she ever met, said it's rude and hurtful to a whole community of people. Candace's Fuller House co-star Jodie Sweetin weighed in, commenting on JoJo's post. "You know I love you."
These comments are incredibly dangerous. First of all, LGBTQ folks are big viewers of these holiday films on Hallmark, on Lifetime. We're a big, disproportionately large part of the viewership. But more so, what this does is it continues this narrative that we don't belong, that we are other. And whether that's on the production, the actors, the craft services, all the folks that participate in creating the shows, or the larger society, the parents, the grandparents who watch this show or listen to her and hear that we're not part of these shows.
One of the most common objections to the Christian position on homosexuality is that homosexuality can't be wrong if it doesn't harm anyone. Well, that assertion is based on a false premise. And the false premise is that no one is harmed by homosexuality. Homosexuality is sin. The Bible makes it very clear that it is a sin. Romans chapter 1, for example, makes it very clear that homosexuality is a sin. So again, it's a false premise. The idea that you can have sinful practices that don't harm anyone. They harm the people who engage in them, and they harm the message of the gospel.
I've always said that what's happened in this society somehow is that either you're a person of faith or you're LGBTQ. LGBTQ people are people of faith, highly so, actually. And some are and some aren't, and both are fine. But to exclude us from faith is the wrong narrative, and it's a very narrow narrative.
If GLAAD's CEO was referring to faith as in Christian faith in Jesus Christ, then this is what Jesus would say to her and anyone living sinful lifestyles. She said, "Know man, Lord." And Jesus said unto her, "Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more." John 8, verse 11. Candace Cameron Bure addressed why her new network, Great American Family, will not promote same-sex couples in a lengthy online post. She also accused the media of inciting hatred and division. The Hollywood and leftist media are making a concerted attempt to silence or cancel anyone who dares to disagree with them on the issue of homosexuality. As a result, we admire and respect Candace Cameron Bure for sticking up for what she believes. We can't say the same for other quote-unquote Christian celebrities.
How do you feel about same-sex marriage?
Well, first of all, how I feel about any topic, I think is going to be really minute. I think that's been the big problem is that I think that as Christians, as the church, we've come across like the police. So, you know, whatever my lens is, it's always going to be trying my best to see something through what I believe is going to be God's word, and not God's word in essence of dogma or in the essence of religion. Probably would always want to say, man, that I'm very sorry for all of the ugly things and all the painful things that people have even heard from church people, because things can come from a very homophobic lens. Sometimes it feels very homophobic. How I would always sum it up, whether you're talking about any issue that people want to know, what does God's word say about it? This is the one that I always want to stand on in the book of Romans. It says, "For there is none righteous, not one." And so if we're all sinners, then that means that everybody's in the pot together, needing the same love and needing the same grace and needing the same forgiveness.
That's how you feel?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you don't have a problem with it?
What I see it is exactly as the way that I would see every one of us, is that we're all sinners needing grace.
In the name of advancing the gospel. We don't want to be a stumbling block, and we don't want to offend people. So what we will do is we will keep talking about the same thing. We just won't directly refer to Jesus, but everybody who's a Christian will know exactly who and what we're talking about. Until they don't.
Do you feel that homosexuality is a sin?
You know, I can't honestly answer on that, in the sense of I have too many people that I love that they are homosexual. I don't know. I actually had a conversation with someone last night about it, and I was like, I can't say one way or the other. I'm not God. So when people ask questions like that, that's what my go-to is. Like, I just say read the Bible and find out for yourself. And when you find out, let me know, because I'm learning too.
The liberals have become so toxic and intolerant of anyone who holds a different viewpoint and won't mind sacrificing any dissenters at the altar of wokeness. The fact is that this type of harmful behavior does not help the LGBTQ community's cause. Because Great American Family is a Christian network, you can expect them to promote Christian values in their programming. As one would expect, if a Christian wants to promote traditional marriage in LGBTQ programs, they will not allow it.
When they see us, it almost is a lifeline. It's a beacon of hope. And I'm like, we got to keep that alive, because you should not feel like walking out of your house and living is a privilege and you're lucky to get home without potentially being followed or being attacked or, all this crazy stuff. And I'm glad that we're able to use our platforms to not only bring awareness, but to kind of rile people up, because people love to get excited, but they just let that excitement die because all they wanted was to be entertained. And I feel like we, especially being the panel that we are right now, we represent so much more. We represent a future, and we represent the right to exist. We represent an entire group of people that deserve to live and live comfortably.
While we strongly support traditional marriage and believe that marriage should be between a man and a woman, we will not go so far as to label LGBTQ people as bigots for engaging in homosexual behavior. We will love them enough to tell them that homosexuality is a sin, but the great news is that forgiveness and salvation are accessible through Jesus Christ.